Hello there, sophomores. So I thought I'd try something a little bit differently with this unit and record a couple of these little mini lectures for you. And that way we can maximize our time in class in order to really dig into the meaty stuff that is the literature. So your assignment was to read the chapter on the Restoration and the 18th century. And our objectives for this unit are to communicate the political and social meaning of the Restoration of 1660, including the return of British royalty and various governmental and parliamentary methods of minimizing religious diversity and conflict, to explain the increasing power of Parliament and the Prime Minister during the reigns of the Georges, with special emphasis on Sir Robert Walpole, and to delineate the gaps between the classes in this time period's highly stratified social system. So we're going to throw around a lot of terms here. We have the Restoration, which is the Restoration, and then in the 18th century, we call it the Enlightenment. We also refer to it as the time of neoclassicism. It's also known as the Age of Reason. It's called the late 1600s through 1815, pretty much this whole period, right? And during this time period, we see an emphasis on human reason, advances in science, neoclassicism in writing, the emergence of an idea called deism, England as a revival of the old Roman Republic system. Coffee houses become very popular during this time. It is a time of wit and intellect. There's a new and conscious echoing of Greek and Roman models. They keep coming back. We're going to see heroic couplets. We're going to see a very plain writing style. We're going to see writing that addresses what is public or pragmatic versus the personal and the escapist. Satire becomes widely used during this time period. There's some poetry. We have the beginning of periodicals, newspapers, the didactic, meaning things that are out there explicitly to teach and instruct. We have essays that are written. We have social commentary, and we have the beginning of what is known as literary criticism. So what's the big deal? The literature of this era reflects the transformation in England from the Restoration to the beginnings of Romanticism. So there's kind of three categories for the writing during this time. We have the Restoration, which is also considered the neoclassical time, and wit is what is really emphasized and appreciated. Then we have the Age of Pope, satire that examines social and moral ideas. And then finally, the last phase of this time period is called the Age of Johnson, and it's the public period. And from a writing standpoint, this marks the birth of the novel. So where is all of this going to lead? The literature of this era leads to the pioneering spirit of William Blake, whose private works hail the beginning of Romanticism, our next unit. Also recognize that there is no one writer who truly reflects the spirit of this age because we have three different pieces. But some writers that we will encounter, Samuel Johnson, James Boswell, and Thomas Gray. So first we have to address the monarchy, okay? The individual on the throne shapes the culture. The Restoration refers to the restoration of the English monarchy. Charles II had an affinity for art, science, and literature, which led to the flourishing of arts and literature in English culture. Queen Anne was a very tolerant monarch, and so that allowed some sassy satire to be a little more openly critical than what we had seen previously. George III had very harsh ways, which hastened the American Revolution, and that is going to compel artists and readers towards private literature, literature that reflects private thoughts, and is going to move towards a more romantic worldview. The satire of the time is intended to ridicule social flaws and to hopefully promote helpful change. It's marked by a degree of humor and a degree of irony.